In this video we're going to go through the many features of the spending plan sheet. This sheet represents the heart of the application and where we get the name TheMoneyMouseTrap. The main purpose of this sheet is to be able to manage your category groups and set up a spending plan. Starting from the left, let's go through the columns on the sheet. The rows column shows the number of rows, or categories in each group section. The usage column shows how many times a category item has been used in the transaction registry. The group category column shows all the groups and subcategories. The group names cannot be changed, but you can add up to 100 categories under each group. The due date column shows when a bill is due. This is used in connection with the bill pay calendar. The spending plan summary area is made up of 6 columns. First is the previous date and amount columns. These columns show the date and amount from last month the category was used. If the category was used more than once, this amount will show the total spent on that category last month. The plan column shows a total of what's been entered in the weekly spending plan area. The actual column pulls data from the transaction registry and shows a total of what has been spent on that category in the current month. The month balance column shows the total monthly balance left to spend for that category. The week balance column shows the amount left to spend for the current week. The weekly spending plan area is made up of 5 columns separated into 4 regular weeks and 1 spillover week. This layout allows your budget to cash flow from week to week, so you can see how your budget progresses throughout the month. The amount left to budget is what's left for the month. The TheMoneyMouseTrap works on a zero-based budget principle. As you add amounts to each week, the total left to budget is deducted until you get to a zero balance. Across the top of the sheet, you have account information and several buttons that allow you to manipulate data on the sheet. The first cell shows you what bank you are working in. The Mousetrap is designed to be used with 1 bank per user file. If you have multiple banks, you can create multiple user files for each bank. The cell just below the bank information shows the current month and year you are budgeting for. The Restore Spending Plan App Data button will restore all data on this sheet when using the Data Manager's Import Data File feature. Please note, this will overwrite all the data on this sheet and this operation is not reversible. It is advisable to make a backup of your file before using this feature. The Insert Row button is how you add more rows, so that you can add more categories under each group. Delete Row button allows you to delete rows. You cannot delete a row that has a category name entered, and you should never clear a category name that has a usage number next to it. This means that the category is currently being used in your register. Clearing the name will throw off your reports and graphs. However, if this happens and you can't remember the category name you used, you can easily recover it by going over to the checking transaction registry. First, filter all the transactions by the group that contains the category. And look for the category name highlighted in pink. Write down that category name. Now go back to the spending plan sheet and re-enter the category name. If the usage number is still blank after doing this, double-check your entry and make sure there are no spaces before or after the name. The Clear All Amounts button is used when you start a new month. It will clear all the weekly balance amounts, making it easier to start a new budget for the month, because you don't have to deal with data clutter. In the center of the page just below the logo is the month and year selection fields. Use these to change the spending plan to a new month and year. There are 3 yellow cells in the middle of the sheet that are brought over from the transaction registry. They show the total amount of uncleared debit categories, as well as the total amount of uncategorized credits and debits. And that completes the rundown of all the sections on the spending plan page. Now, let's add a new category to the spending plan. First, scroll to the group where you want to add the category. Let's say we want to add a new category in the housing group. Here we need to select a blank cell in the group and type in a name for the new category. That's how easy it is to add a category to your spending plan. This category is ready to be used immediately in the checking register. To set up a budget for that category, simply select a cell in this category's row, under the week, in the weekly spending plan area, and enter the amount you plan to spend. Note here, that it is possible to enter amounts in multiple weeks on the same row. This is useful for categories like groceries and auto fuel, which are sometimes purchased on a weekly basis throughout the month. The program will automatically update the amount left to budget for the month. In the month and week balance columns, you will see two green numbers show up. This will indicate that the budget item has been loaded with the amount you have to spend on that category. If we jump over to the checking account register and enter a transaction for this new category, and then go back to the spending plan sheet, we will see that in the actual column, there is now an amount equal to the amount in the transaction registry. We also see that the monthly and weekly balances have been zeroed out, showing that we have spent the limit for that category. And the total of uncleared debit categories field has been updated because we did not enter a C in the cleared column in the transaction registry. We also have an amount left to budget, showing a negative number. This is because we are over budget. I did this on purpose to reveal one of the most powerful features of this program, and what gives it the name TheMoneyMouseTrap. It is designed to give you direct visual feedback when you go over budget on any category in the spending plan, prompting you to correct that budget oversight immediately. So, let's fix our budget. If we go to a budget category that has extra money in it, and in this case, it is the emergency fund, we can let the program do the calculations by zeroing out that category amount one of the weekly columns. This will show the value in the amount left to budget field we need to adjust to, in order to zero out the budget again. Now that we have zero again in the amount left to budget, we are now rebalanced in our budget. This feature also works if we are over budget in a single category. Let's use the grocery category for example. According to our budget, we have spent everything that is allotted for this category. So, if we enter another transaction, we will go over budget on this category for this month. As you can see, we now have red numbers in the month and week balance columns, indicating that we have gone over budget in this category. We can rebalance the budget by pulling money from other categories that have surplus to make up the shortfall. But first we need to adjust the amount overspent in this category. Again, if we zero out one of the weekly amounts, the program will tell us how much we need to enter to balance out this category. After the category has been adjusted, we can now see how much the entire budget is over. When we make one final adjustment to the emergency fund category, we are now balanced again. As you can see, the name of the game is to keep red from showing up on the spending plan sheet. If we keep everything green, we are staying within budget. Now budgeting becomes more interactive, rather than just crunching numbers. Basically how the spending plan sheet works. Again, if you run into problems, just click the Show Help button.